Przewalski horses, the last wild horses on Earth. Last seen in the wild in 1968, these animals have only survived in Western zoos. For the last 10 years, a herd of Przewalski horses have been raised under unique conditions in southern France, under the watchful eye of a Swiss horse specialist. Her plan is to release a number of the herd in Western Mongolia to help create a new population to reverse the extinction of this fragile species. The Massif Central in southern France. Przewalski horses roam amongst the prehistoric rock piles of the Causse Méjean. Stocky and powerful, these are descendants of wild horses that ranged across Asia and Europe 20,000 years ago. It was visiting caves in the south of France as a child that first inspired equine specialist Claudia Feh.
I guess that the first time I saw Przewalski horses was on pictures in cave paintings, and I was much impressed by the beauty of the animals, but at the same time the cave paintings do not just depict horses. There's the whole fauna that existed at this period of time, and that all these animals existed in our world, and they've all disappeared, and that touched me.
Human expansion gradually forced the species to retreat to Western Asia, where they were officially discovered by Colonel Nikolai Przewalski in 1879. But by the 1970s, Przewalski horses had been hunted to extinction in the wild, and only 300 survived in captivity. At around that time, a young Claudia Feh began to study horse behavior. She spent 8 years watching a group of domestic horses living in the Camargue. Fundamental research with groundbreaking results.
What was not known at all at this period was that horses in fact had a very complex social system, and that their individual relationships lasted for a very long time. And the sort of image of one stallion prancing around 30 mares, which everyone had, is completely wrong, because they live in small family groups, and they maintain this stable relationship for up to 12 years, which is most of the adult life of a horse. So to know this was extremely important to set up the project on the Przewalski horses.
Claudia began an ambitious project to reintroduce Przewalski horses to the wild. Her plan was to take horses back to Mongolia in pre-formed family groups to increase their chances of survival. In 1993, 11 horses from different zoos arrived at Le Villeret on the Massif Central. They were allowed to mix freely and breed naturally.
We have 53 horses now, and some more foals to come this spring. And they're organized in 5 family groups and 2 bachelor groups. The fact that this herd exists and the family stallions tolerate each other means that this project is really a success.
Claudia's plan is to take 12 horses to Mongolia in 3 pre-formed family groups in September 2004. It's early May, and Claudia has travelled to Hovd in Western Mongolia to begin final preparations. For most of the 20th century, Mongolia was a satellite state of the Soviet Union. But since the fall of communism in the early 1990s, the country has made the painful transition to a market economy. Hovd is the last place to buy supplies before heading into the country's vast interior. It will take Claudia and her team 2 days to reach the release site, 300 kilometers from here.
When I start to feel really happy is once we are out in the countryside. I always look forward to come to Mongolia because it's a country that I like very much. I love its landscape. And this region, especially the western region of Mongolia and the national park, I mean, it's one of the biggest Central Asian wetlands. Plenty of wildlife, mainly birds around.
In 1998, Claudia chose a release site in the Komintau, a remote area of around 2,500 square kilometers that sits on the northern edge of the Gobi Desert. Her love of the flora and fauna here inspired Claudia to protect this unique habitat by setting up an integrated conservation project. She is appealing to Mongolians' passion for horses, considered sacred animals, to inspire local people to embrace conservation.
Horses as a flagship species make it easier to make people understand about more general issues of conservation. The horse is something real and something they like, so if you like things, you want to protect them. So it makes it easier to explain to them why you can't protect species without protecting habitats, in fact.
Local knowledge of living and working with horses could also be invaluable for research.